What if one of Apple's smallest products is about to become one of the important devices in its entire smart home strategy? HomePod Mini has been sitting on shelves for years with essentially the same core hardware, and now the long-awaited successor may be close. But this is not just a story about a louder little speaker. If the latest reports are accurate, Apple could be preparing the HomePod Mini for a bigger role inside your home. Welcome to TechVibe. Stay with me because the key upgrade may have almost nothing to do with music. Let's start with what we know. Apple introduced the first HomePod Mini in 2020 as a compact smart speaker powered by the S5 chip. It delivered 360-degree audio, Siri, multi-room playback, stereo pairing, intercom, smart home controls, and integration with the iPhone. Apple later expanded the color lineup and activated useful features such as temperature and humidity sensing. For a small speaker, it has aged well, but there is one problem. The smart home market has changed since 2020, while the HomePod Mini's hardware platform has not received a generational refresh. That is why the next model matters. According to recent reporting from Bloomberg's Mark Gurman, Apple has a new HomePod Mini that is nearly ready, with a launch reportedly planned for this fall. That makes September or October 2026 a realistic window, although Apple itself has not confirmed a launch date. And because this is still an unreleased product, every detail beyond Apple's existing HomePod features should be treated as reported information, not a guarantee. The first expected upgrade is the processor. The current HomePod Mini uses the Apple S5, a chip that dates back to the Apple Watch Series 5 era. Reports have pointed toward a newer Apple Watch class chip, potentially an S9 generation processor or something newer. That sounds like an invisible change, but inside a smart speaker, processing power affects far more than menu speed. HomePod uses computational audio to analyze what is playing and adjust its output in real time. A faster chip could give Apple more room for improved audio processing, quicker Siri responses, smoother smart home commands, and more advanced features over the life of the device. In other words, the biggest performance upgrade may be something you hear and feel, rather than something you see. Sound quality is also expected to improve, although there is no confirmed specification showing a larger driver or a completely redesigned acoustic system. That distinction matters. Some rumor videos are already claiming dramatic hardware changes, but there is not enough reliable evidence to call those confirmed. A believable possibility is that Apple keeps the familiar compact shape and improves the experience through better tuning, faster processing, and refined internal components. Keeping the same basic design would make sense. At about 3.3 inches tall, HomePod Mini fits almost anywhere, and its 360-degree approach works well in kitchens, bedrooms, offices, and smaller living spaces. Current reports do not point to a major form factor redesign, so anyone expecting a touchscreen or futuristic display may be looking at the wrong product. That is because Apple is reportedly developing a separate smart home hub with a display. This is where the HomePod Mini 2 becomes much more interesting. Apple appears to be building a broader home ecosystem, not simply refreshing one speaker. Reports have described a new smart display or home hub centered around a more capable Siri experience, alongside updated HomePod and Apple TV hardware. If that strategy comes together, the next HomePod Mini could become an affordable audio and voice extension for a larger Apple-controlled smart home. Imagine a home where a central Apple display handles visual information, cameras, calendars, calls, and controls, while HomePod Mini speakers placed in different rooms provide voice access, music, intercom, alerts, and smart home commands. The Mini would not need a screen because its value would come from being everywhere. Connectivity could be another important upgrade. The current model already supports Thread networking and ultra-wideband for proximity features. Reports have suggested newer wireless hardware and upgraded UWB, but claims about Apple's N1 networking chip conflict. Later, code-based reporting suggested the next HomePod Mini may not include N1, so it should not be treated as confirmed. Ultra-wideband, on the other hand, could be especially useful if Apple wants devices around your home to understand proximity more accurately. The current HomePod Mini already uses UWB for certain handoff experiences with compatible iPhones. A newer implementation could potentially make those interactions faster or more precise, though Apple has not announced any new UWB feature for the upcoming speaker. Then there is Siri, probably the biggest question surrounding the entire product. A new processor creates obvious expectations for a smarter assistant, especially as Apple pushes deeper into AI. But do not assume that HomePod Mini 2 will independently run every Apple Intelligence feature. Reliable reports have raised questions about how much AI processing the speaker itself will handle. One possibility is that the HomePod works more closely with an iPhone or Apple's broader ecosystem for advanced requests. What matters is the experience. If Siri becomes more conversational, understands context better, handles follow-up requests more naturally, and executes smart home actions more reliably, that could matter more to everyday users than any spec sheet upgrade. New colors are also rumored. That sounds minor, but HomePod Mini often sits in visible areas of the home, and Apple has already made color part of the product's identity. A refreshed palette could make the second generation feel new without changing the enclosure. What about price? Apple launched the original HomePod Mini in the United States at $99, but there is no trustworthy confirmation of the second generation US price. Keeping it affordable would make sense if Apple wants people to buy several, but only an official announcement can settle that. So, should you buy a HomePod Mini today? If you need a speaker immediately and you are already deep in the Apple ecosystem, the current model still offers useful smart home and audio features. But if you can wait, the situation is different. With credible reporting now pointing toward a fall refresh, buying the existing generation right before a possible replacement could leave you with 6-year-old Core Silicon just as Apple moves its home strategy forward. And that brings us to the real reason HomePod Mini 2 matters. This may not be Apple's most exciting product announcement of 2026. It may not have the biggest screen, the fastest benchmark score, or the most dramatic redesign. But if Apple is serious about turning the home into its next major ecosystem battleground, the HomePod Mini could become the device that quietly connects everything together. A faster chip, refined sound, stronger connectivity, better proximity features, refreshed colors, and a more capable Siri would already make this a meaningful upgrade. Combine that with Apple's rumored smart home hub and updated Apple TV, and suddenly the HomePod Mini 2 looks less like a simple speaker refresh and more like one piece of a much larger plan. The question is not whether Apple can build a better HomePod Mini. The question is whether Apple can finally make the smart home feel as seamless as the iPhone. AirPods, Apple Watch, and Mac already do together. If the answer is yes, this tiny speaker could matter far more than its size suggests. You're watching TechVibe, where we separate real upgrades from recycled hype. If you want the next HomePod Mini update when Apple makes it official, stay connected. And tell us below, should Apple keep it affordable or add premium features even if the price rises?